One of the most important concepts in boxing is hitting and not getting hit. And the best way to practice this, especially on the heavy bag or when you're doing your solo training, is to move your head after your last punch. For example, if I throw a jab and just stay in the middle, like if I'm just jabbing and keeping my head in the middle, my opponent's gonna punch back, right? We gotta assume our opponent's gonna punch back. So you don't wanna be there anymore. You don't wanna be there. So if I throw a jab from this position, I don't wanna stay here. I wanna move my head side to side. And there's 3 different maneuvers we're gonna focus on. There are 3 different slips. You're gonna slip to your left, slip to your right, or slip down by doing a knee bend. So let me go through all 3. So if I throw that jab, I can slip to my left, jab, slip to my right, and then jab, and then do a knee bend or slip down. So when you're on the heavy bag, let's say you put a boxing timer on, round 1, you're gonna focus on just the jab and moving your head in one of those 3 directions because you wanna be unpredictable. You don't wanna always slip to one side because your opponent's gonna pick up on that and try to counterpunch you. So on the heavy bag, I'm just gonna step in, throw the jab, slip once. 1 punch, 1 slip. Jab, slip. And then again, jab, slip the other way. And then jab, slip down. Remember when you do your slips, I want full range of motion. What that means is I'm not just doing a little head bob when I'm slipping, okay? I'm actually bending at the waist, kicking the hips out, and I'm slipping with my head outside my opponent's shoulder. So I'm slipping here, outside, okay? Now, when it comes to slipping, especially the peekaboo slip, your technique depends a lot on your flexibility. I see people that can really bend side to side without shifting their hips. Myself, I gotta actually shift my hips a little bit. You wanna imagine taking your head to your shoulder, touching your head on your shoulder, okay? Full range of motion. So again, off the jab, I'm gonna jab, slip left. Maybe I move around a little bit, step in, jab, slip right. Move around, step in, jab, and do the knee bend. It's important to move around the heavy bag. You know, day 1, when you're learning how to box, you might be stationary, not moving your feet. But remember, when you start sparring and drilling, you gotta be able to move your feet and control the distance. So now, once you master slipping off the jab in all 3 directions, you can cycle through all your different punches using those same 3 slips. So for instance, I can throw a cross or straight right and then slip right. I can throw a cross and then as I bring my hand back to my face, I slip left. And then finally, I can throw that cross and do a knee bend and slip down. So on the heavy bag, I can step in, hit the cross, slip. Step back, hit the cross, slip left. Step in, hit the cross, do a knee bend. Remember when I'm throwing that punches, once I hit the target, I punch 2 to 3 inches through the target and then bring it straight back to my face. Because I want to maintain that defensive structure or that tight defense with my boxing stance. Remember, the same thing applies to all your different punches. So let me just run through real quick. I can jab and slip all 3 directions. I can throw that straight right, slip all 3 directions, hook, slip, slip, knee bend. I can throw that rear hook, slip, slip, or knee bend, okay? Uppercut, I can hit that uppercut, slip, and then uppercut, knee bend. So I can go through all the different punches and move my head after my last punch. Once you get it down where you can move your head 1 time after your last punch, then you can start doing combinations with the head movement. For instance, I can throw 1 jab, move my head twice. Maybe I go side to side, left to right. Maybe I double up the same side. Maybe I throw that jab, slip, slip. Maybe I throw the jab, slip, knee bend. So I can do any combination. So the second round on the heavy bag, remember round 1 would be 1 punch, 1 slip. The second round maybe will be 1 punch, 2 slips, okay? And then maybe the third round, I can do 3 slips. So I can go jab, slip, slip, slip. So I'm always mixing it up, not trying to be predictable when I use my head movement after my last punch. Once I get good and move my head once, twice, 3 times after throwing a single punch, then I can start throwing combinations. For instance, if I step in and throw the jab cross, I can move my head twice. Jab cross, maybe I move my head 3 times. Or maybe jab cross and I just move my head once. Now, when do I move my head once, 2 times, or 3 times? What's the situation? The situation is if my opponent is counterpunching and if they're counterpunching or throwing back with 1 punch, 2 punch, or full combination. Because if I step in on my opponent and hit the jab and then I slip and he throws a punch, if I don't counterpunch right away, but he's continuing on with a combination, maybe I slip and I see that the punches are still coming at me, and I'm gonna lock down and start doing combinations with my head movement to try to avoid as many punches as I can. So I'm gonna give you a little example of me hitting a heavy bag, and either I'm gonna throw a single punch, I'm gonna throw a combination, and I'm just gonna move my head once so you can see what it looks like. So when I'm in front of the heavy bag, maybe I just throw 1 punch and then move my head once. Maybe I throw 2 punches, move my head once. Maybe 3 punches, move my head once. Maybe 4 punches, move my head once. Okay? At bare minimum, I want to at least move my head 1 time. Now I can move my head twice. So same thing. If I throw 1 punch, I can move my head twice. If I throw 2 punches, I can move my head twice. If I throw 3 punches, boom, 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 duck, hit, hit. I can move my head 3 different times. You can go up to 4, okay? It all depends on, like I said previously, how many punches are coming back after you when you step in to hit your opponent. Now, once you get the slipping down, side to side and the knee bend, then you can add in the weave. What's a weave? A weave, if I'm just standing here in my stance, is I'm gonna sway to one side, I'm gonna sway and do that circular head movement by bending at the knees and kicking my hips out. So again, if I'm in my stance, I'm gonna sway right, it's just a little bit, I'm gonna sway and go under. Okay, if I go the other way, I'm gonna sway and weave under. All right, what I'm not doing with the weave is bending at the waist, bending down and looking down. Now there's a different type of weave. It's like an old school weave where you're here and you just bend at the waist and you just kind of whip under the hook. Like if they throw a hook at me, I just kind of whip under. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different style of boxing. So again, now I can add in the weave with my slips and I can do a combination. So if I go jab, maybe I slip and then weave. Or maybe I go jab cross, slip, slip, weave. A good way of looking at it is when I throw straight punches, I'm slipping. When I'm throwing hooks and uppercuts, I'm weaving. Why is that? Because for me to land a hook and an uppercut, I got to get closer to my opponent. So if I'm closer to my opponent and I'm throwing uppercuts and hooks to the head and body, it's harder to slip punches now, all right? Because a general guideline is you slip the straight and you weave the round, the hook punch. So when I'm in closer, I want to be able to add in, get a little bit lower and make it harder for my opponent to hit me with those hooks. Because if I'm just trying to slip hooks, I can still get hit. Now you can still slip a hook. It's like when you roll with the punch. So if I'm here and I get hit by a hook on the glove, I can slip it to dissipate some of that energy off of that punch. But preferably, if he throws a hook, I want to weave under it. To end this video, I'm going to give you a little example of me just free-flowing on the heavy bag while focusing on moving my head after my last punch.